Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome students. As usual, we would like to start from the summary of the previous lecture. As you remember, we started a very long journey of the origin and evolution of public administration. So we will continue in this lecture and the next lecture this story, that how the public administration over time evolved. So I remember I started from the very beginning and I said that the original or the army personnel were army leader they were the first public administrator, because this was the reason that in the beginning there was not a well-defined discipline, and every king, ruler has to set his own administration staff, and definitely the army personnel were the administered because might was the right. So after this it went on emerging, and we have reached, if I remember, we have reached up to 1940, and now we are talking about the post-World War to the 1970s. We have bifurcated, we have given now steps, eras to elaborate that how the discipline of public administration was evolved over time. Although you will be thinking that we are talking about the public administration in Pakistan, and Pakistan was established, Pakistan was appeared on the world map on 1947. So what would be the purpose of the previous discussion? It is necessary to give you a brief and clear sketch that how public administration evolved, what is its significance, what is its importance, what are its theory, and then after elaborating all these things, we will confine ourselves about the Pakistan, and we will see that what is the public administration in Pakistan, what is its structure, how failure, is it a success story or a failure story, or where the efficiency or the deficiency are comparable, and how we have to progress. We may compare it with the rest of the world, that what is happening in other parts of the world and what is happening in Pakistan. So the mid-1940s, theorists challenged Wilson and Gulick. As I told you in the previous one or two lecture, that the big guns in the field of public administration are Stein and the Woodrow Wilson. According to the Americans, they do believe that Wilson is the father of the public administration. This is a separate debate. However, we just see that the Stein has its own worth, and the Woodrow Wilson cannot be ignored. They challenged that Wilson and Gulick. Up till 1940s, the theories of Wilson and Gulick were dominating at this stage, but in the years of 40s, these were challenged. What was the challengeable debate? This word was the most challengeable debate that was showing that the politics administration dichotomy between that should these be clear, separate from each other, or they should be the same. So we were talking about the origin of the public administration, how it evolved, and in the 1940s the theories were criticized by Wilson and Gulick, and what was that? The dichotomy remained the center of criticism. This was the bone of contention between the scholars, that whether the politics and the administration are the same thing or they should be separated from each other. Some were in the view that these are interrelated disciplines, and some believed in giving by example that they should be differentiated from one another. So the Woodrow Wilson and the Gulick were criticized on this point. In the 1960s and 70s, United States government itself came under fire due to costly intervention in Vietnam. This was the changing of the public administration, and almost it was the resolve of this dichotomy discussion that the United States, when he launched his forces, when they launched their forces into the Vietnam, like they have launched into Afghanistan, they were defeated. And there was a huge dollar, and they poured huge dollarization into the Vietnam War, but with no result. So there was huge hue and cry on the part of the public administrators, and they said, what they said, there was a call by citizens for efficient administration to replace ineffective, wasteful bureaucracy. Now there was because it was the decision of the it was a policy decision to intervene in Vietnam, but you know, when there is victory, everyone is supporting you, but when there is defeat, no one is going to take the responsibility. However, the policymakers have to take the responsibility whatever the situation is. So the people try to criticize that the politics and that the public administration should be now replaced by the wasteful bureaucracy, and the people who are inefficient, they should be replaced by efficient administration. What they said, it means before 1967 they were in the view that the administration was inefficient. Definitely it was by example, it was the result. The story continues. Concurrently, after World War II, the whole concept of public administration expanded to include policy making and analysis. Now the era, and now the criteria, or you can say the subject matter of the public administration increased after the World War II, and it include policy making and analysis. First, it was just on that what the policy makers say, the public administrator should follow, and they should implement the things. Now you can say there is a kink, and they are thinking that it was not only just the implementation, the rules of the land, but they include the policy making and then analysis. Analysis means it is, you can say in finance, it is the audit. Analysis that whether the policy is going on the right direction or there are some of the problem. So it means the area of public expenditure, public administration increased tremendously. Many things that were out of the domain of the public administration before the start of the Second World War, they were included into the public administration. Thus, the study of administration, policy making and analysis was introduced and enhanced into the government decision making bodies. So now what was this? These policy makers and the analysts, they were also incorporated within the public administration, because it was concluded that without the policy making, public administration and analyst collaboration, it was not possible to achieve the required goal. And what was the major example before them? Although we are trying to are in 40s and 50s, yet if I just go back to previous slide, you will see that it was the result of the Vietnam War that the American has to face the defeat, and this was the change of the public administration. Then what happened? On which type there was the focus? Now focus was totally changed, and focus was on the human factor. And human factor, as nowadays everyone is talking about the human capital, human resource development, the whole focus at that time again came at the human factor, and it became a dominant concern and emphasis in the studies of public administration. Before this, no one was so critical or so curious about the resources that are the human capital other resources were given much importance, and policy was taken, and then it was asked to the public administrator to carry out this policy. But at this time, the individual differences, the expertise, the areas, the subject specialty, the skills, these all were given the importance. It means the factor of the human resource or human factor entered into the field of public administration. Henceforth, what happened? The emergence of scholars such as Marx, and what he wrote the books, The Elements of Public Administration. Definitely, when there is criticism, if you study all the histories of the different disciplines, you will come to know, as there is a big man, big gun, he has given a good theory, but at it becomes under criticism, it opens floodgates of criticism, and now the people, the researcher or the scholars find it room to include, to give their own comments, or you can say the ideas. So the Marx, in his book, what was the name of the book? The Elements of Public Administration, and it was 1946, just after the Second World War was ended. Second World War, the pure in technical term, we can say that it was also the inefficiency of the public administration, that different nations became in front of each other, because it means that there was overstepping from some nations to the other nations, and the rights of the poor and the small and the weak nations were not recognized by the rich nations or the powerful nature. Ultimately, what happened? The world went into the Second World War, and there was huge loss of the physical infrastructure as well as the humanity. So as the world ended, there was now discussion over this, the public administration. So it is a very famous book, and you can say a very important book at the original level, at the basic level, that the elements of the public administration. Marx gives some other elements that were not included into the definitions of the Gulick and the Woodrow Wilson. After this, the situation became further advanced, and Paul, that is also a social scientist, he also wrote that Policy and Administration. He wrote this book in 1952. This was also important book. It also gave some new dimension to the public administration, and as its name shows, it advocated the inclusion of the public policy into the public administration. So these are similar, these are now interacting term, and after this, Frank Marini towards a new public administration. In 1971, there was huge debate, and now the discipline was getting a new shape, and it was given by the Frank Marini towards of new public administration. Look at the name of the book. It clearly conveys its idea that it was something different from the others. So what, after these three books, what was the definition of the public administration? They said it can be defined the department in the executive arm of government. Again ignoring the legislature, again ignoring the judiciary, they just said that the public administration is a department in executive form of the arm of the government. What is the responsibility of this executive arm? Responsible for the formulating and implementation of government policies and programs. So look at this. This has become something additional. First, just concentrating what we used to remember what the government is, what government does. It is public administration. Now you can see the inclusion of formulating also became the part of the public administration. Now the next decade comes to, that is the 1980s and 1990s. In the late 80s, yet another generation of public administration theorists began to displace the last. It is the beauty of this human being, the beauty of the discipline, the beauty of the subject matter, that first come thesis, there is criticism, then the new theory develops. The same was happening in case of the public administration. No doubt the people who gave the beginning concept of public administration, they have some unique importance in the public literature, any literature, and the public administration. But over time it cannot be said, although they put the foundation state in a very proper way, but there was criticism, and in the 1980s the new theorists, they tried to replace the first one, and first was a new theory was developed, that was the new public management, and it was proposed by David Armstrong and Ted Gabler in their book Reinventing Government. It means they started to redefine, redesign and reinvent the government, and they were going some way different, taking some different way as compared to the other that were the Wilson and the other ones. So they said the new model and this theory was called the new public management. It means they were not satisfied with the previous one, and it is famously known as NPM. This theory is known as NPM, new public management. The new model advocated the use of private sector style models. Now this model is again being implemented. When there was inefficiency in the public sector, definitely these people thought that the public administration should be built on the same footage as is happening in the private sector. Because private sector is earning profit, there is higher productivity of per dollar. So why public administration is not performing? They try to match their model with the private style models. Organizational ideas, they give the other ideas, you can say the different ideas of the organization and values to improve the efficiency and service orientation of the public sector. These will remain the focus of all the social scientists, or you can say the theorists of public administrator, that they were on the focus that the efficiency and service orientation should be increased, and they gave it for the new theory, that is the new public management theory. Some modern authors define new public management as a combination. Now what is this? NPM, what is this? Splitting large bureaucracies into smaller and fragmented agencies. First thing that comes, that they are against the centralization of the power. They think that the large bureaucracy, we will talk about that what we mean by the bureaucracy. Here just to remember that the civil servant, or you can say the Sarkari Babus, they are the part of the bureaucracy. If they are at a higher level, it is our misconception that only who has larger power they are the bureaucrat. Every public administrator is a bureaucrat in one way or the other. If he has the power, he is called the bureaucrat, and he is the public servant. So it was argued, it was advocated, it was supported that the public administration, the bureaucracy should be divided into parts. As in the many of the organization of the public sector, there are many departments linking to each other. So there was also one of the argument for this, that there should be this one. And it was not still, the further was encouraging competition between different public agencies and encouraging competition between public agencies and private firms. They were some open-minded, or they were opening the domain of the public sector. They were thinking that if there is a combination between the public sector to public sector, one sector to other sector, it will encourage, or it will enhance the efficiency, because as there is a combination, everyone tries to overcome his opponents. And they gave another idea that not only the public sector should be compared with the public sector, there should be private public sector comparison, and we should see that what is happening. The purpose behind this was to increase the efficiency of the public sector. Further, it was said that, and using economic intervention lines, performance pay for senior executive or user pay model. So here they introduced the concept of the economic incentive. No doubt before this, the higher bureaucracy or the higher public administrator, they were getting the salaries, higher salaries. But this concept was that if a person is more competitive, he is giving good performance, he should be giving some extra benefits. As you are well aware of that, in many of the private organizations, there are bonuses. This is one kind of the economic intervention to increase the increase the efficiency. One of the major, or you can say it is our hard luck, it is that all the people working in the public sector are treated in the same way. If a person works honestly, he works from morning to evening, he obeys all the rules and regulation, and on the other hand, if a person totally against this, they both are treated in the same way and they get the same salary. This is reason that the person who is honest and he is efficient, he becomes frustrated and he also starts shirking works. It means that there should be the intervention of the economic incentive for the person who are more productive as compared to the other person. You can say that it will also not work because there will be nepotism. There is the possibility that the same person who is not working, he is getting even the bonus and the other is not getting the bonus, as in happening in many areas, that the people who are just kitchen cabinet of the public administrator who are sitting at the higher level, they get more benefit, and the person, the honest person, the workers, they are ignored. You can see in even the political parties, you will see that the many of the workers, true workers, will be blaming that their party ignored them and the ticket was allotted to some other person. This is happening all over the Pakistan, particularly in South Asia and all the developing countries. So here was the recognition of the fact. Before this, ये सब मानते थे कि efficiency low है, but they were just concentrating, निकाल दो इसको जी, इसको add कर लो, इसके increment जो है वो बंद कर लो. These were the threats. They did not work. Although you can say they work not as efficiently as they should, then there was the concept of the economic intervention, and it is my suggestion that as you are the public administration, you may be the public administrator, the economic incentives are more powerful than the threats. So whenever you get any opportunity, you want to increase the efficiency of any of the sector, public sector, you will have to give more incentive to the person who are more hardworking and intelligent and whatsoever. Some critics argued that the new public management concept of treating people, now the criticism starts on new public management. It was different, and you remember that they also asked that this should be organized on the basis of the private sector. As happens in the private sector, similar incentives and similar mechanism should be introduced there. So immediately when there is the subject matter is evolving, there was criticism and there was the concept that this according to the new management policy, the people were treated as customers. Customers is a pure business and economic one, rather than the citizen. They are true, I do agree, but it doesn't mean that it is necessarily true that if I agree that all the people should agree. These are the debatable things, and it is very good that if you see my comments critically. So in the previous public administration, the people were treated as the citizen. citizen has more status. It is not a pure mechanism, or you can say the economic or the commercialization. But according to the new management, new public management, the people were treated as the customers, and you know how the customer, how the private sector treat the customer, and they said that it is an inappropriate borrowing from the private sector model. So they were not totally against the private sector model, yet they said that this definition, that the treating of the public administrators as a customer, this is not correct. In new public management, people are viewed as economic units and not democratic participants. The people should be treated as part of the states, and they should be treated in a democratic way. But unfortunately, no doubt new public management policy gained much popularity in the years of 1980s and 90s. But one of the fundamental drawback of this theory was it was treating a human being as economic unit, and human being is not economic unit. It has more worth. It should be treated as a citizen. It should be treated as a democratic participant. Nevertheless, the model is still widely accepted at all levels of government in many OECD nations, Organization of Economic and Cooperation Development. So these are the rich nations. They started their this organization was established in 1961, and in the beginning there were only 20 members, but now this has almost about 40. This, despite its criticism, this model still exists in many of the developed countries. No theory, it should be categorically remembered that you cannot, even any of the expert on this planet of the social scientist can bring me a theory that this is totally better from the other. Every theory has the flaws and every theory has the plus. So we make the cost benefit analysis. If its pluses are more than its minuses, then we say that it is better, and some theories become more important as the time develops over time. Now we are in the last decade of our discussion, that late 1990s to 2000. In the 90s, two other the political scientist Janet and Robert proposed a new public services model in response to dominance of new public management. They give their own model. The model at that time was dominant was new public management, but they give a different name. They said no, the model should be new public services. A successor to NPM is digital era governance. In 2000, you know, there was a revolution of the digitalization. So this should be incorporated into the model. They can help increase the efficiency of the government or the public administration. And what was the focus? Focusing on the themes of reintegrating government responsibility, rethinking, redesigning, redefining the responsibilities of the governments in the light of this digitalization. Because you can, for example, before digitalization, governments the process mechanism for many of the works or activities were more than, I am supposing, more than 15 days or 20 days. Now it should be remembered that this is the era, and it should be included into the digitalization effect should be included into the model. And this digitalization, or you can say exploiting the transformational capabilities of modern IT and digital storage, this should be the part of the public administration. One example of this is openforum.com.au. This is an Australian website, and you can see they have opened the discussion of public administration. It was not even imagined 50 or 60 years back that the public administration should be so debatable in this. They have given their website, and what is happening in this website? Senior public servants academics, business people and other key stakeholders to engage in high-level policy debate. So it is now policy debate has become a multidisciplinary work, and all the stakeholders should be considered before implementing and before framing any of the policies. If they their discussion is incorporated into the model, it brings more useful result as compared to if they are not including the stakeholder. Nowadays you will be listening about from the print and the electronic media that what is happening. Very reputed farmers, reputed word are that all the stakeholders should be considered. Whenever Nawaz government says, they says that they will take all the stakeholders into confidence. It means this is the openforum.com.au. It is a forum that gives the all stakeholders to debate independently without any restriction their ideas. It is not necessarily true that the idea of each and every person will be incorporated into the model, but at the same time it cannot be ignored that the positive feedback will definitely be brought into the public administration discipline, and it will help improve in increasing the public administration. So the last decade, another new public service model is what has been called the new public governance. The previous was new public management was, then new public services, and now new public governance. It means it was another style to elaborate the functioning of the public administration. What was this? It was an approach which includes centralization of power. It gives it supports the centralization of the power and increased number, role and influence of partisan political staff, personal politicization of appointment to senior public services. This approach just include that there should be the centralization of the power and the influence of the nepotism. That it means it was still sticking with this public administration and making one of the reason of the inefficiency. So they categorically again said that there should be no personal politicization of appointments. This is destroying Pakistan. When we will be talking about Pakistani structure of public administration, of bureaucracy, we will talk in detail, but at the same time I think you will be ready to agree with me that this situation is destroying Pakistan, and everywhere whenever you do the research, you go to the reality, you search out what is happening there, you will see that the nepotism or politicization, or you can say the ignoring of the merit is the reason for poor public administration, and the assumption that the public service is a partisan for the government of the day, and public service is a shame, without any shame, it is the true sense responsibility of the public servants. If public servants believe that they are the true servants of the nation, then only public administration can be improved. After this, I can say that we took more than expected time on building the evolution of the public administration. First we defined, then we saw its development over the years. 2 or 3 things are more important. I will be giving you in the summary. Now what is the significance? Every time when you write a research, you write the significance of your research. When you write an article, you write that why it is needed. At the same footings, I am going to explain that what is the significance of public administration doctrine, why we study it, and if we do not study, definitely what will be its consequences. The history of the world can be viewed as the rise and fall of public administration institutions. Definitely, when there is a rise of a nation, all the public administration are working well. And when there is a fall of the nation, like we, all the public administration or public institution show different, very pessimistic picture of the, give the very pessimistic scenario. So it means the public administration is the cause for, I am indirectly saying, it is the cause of fall and rise. If you want to see that why the nation are rising, you can indirectly say that there is a very, very good public policy and public administration, and on the other side, if they are any of the nation is facing the problems that we are facing at this time, we can easily say that this is the problem of the public administration. For the one I have brought one example, Rome was effective because the army's institutional doctrine made it superior to its competitors. Rome dominated the world in their era. They were one of the best civilized nations according to the historians of their time. So what was, definitely it is the duty or the responsibility of the historians to dig out those factors that were positive, that were helpful in their rise. So what was there? They were effective managers, and particularly it was the beginning, and army's institutional, their army institutional was so strong, so managed and so disciplined that they in their time they dominated the world. And because it was backed up by sophisticated administrative system of supply backed by taxes. Two other things. The first thing, that the why Roman dominated, Romans, now you can say, now we may be Romans and we can get this significance from this public administration. If we are improving, we are utilizing our efficiencies in a proper way, we will see that there is a good public policy and public administration. And how this was functioning, one was the reason that the army was so disciplined. The other is that it was sophisticated administrative system of supply backed by taxes. Government or the army needs some funds to run their functioning, and it was a very large army, very huge army, and definitely it needs resources. Nowadays you are listening that we are saying that the army budget should be slashed. At that time this was also one of the thinking, but what they did, they tried to feed the public army by the taxes. It means what we are crying nowadays, that the tax should be increased, the tax should be collected from the rich segment of the society. The Romans have recognized this importance many years, many hundred years back. So that's why from this slide my purpose was to give that the public administration is highly significant in the rise and fall of any of the nation. All institutions are guided by doctrine of administration that reflect basic values. The public administration of any of the country is based on the basic values. Some are the values are basic in all the countries on paper. For example, there should be true sense, there should be no telling a lie, there should be preservation of time, and all this is these are the common, but there are some religious, cultural and the local characteristic that show the public administration. These are called the values, and they should be the part of the public administration. Why they should be included into the public administration? Because it will be more effective when it is included. The first administrative doctrine, military, do this or die. What the military doctrine, you definitely know, there is no use of no in the army. Yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, everything. And nowadays you are thinking and you are looking that although the army person who are retired, they are criticizing the policies of the Musharraf, but at that time when they were the subordinate to Musharraf, they never went against this, and they followed in letter and spirit. So this is the doctrine of the army, that do this or die. It means if you will do it, you will remain in, otherwise it is the marshalling of the power. The modern concept is different from the previous concept. What is the modern concept? All that we ask of men is that they do the work which is set before them. We request. In all the institution, people say that it is the responsibility of that public staff that they should do their duty. And fortunately, if there is, one does not do any duty, he will have to be get out of the service. And here are also what the threat is, or he will be fired. If he will not obey, he will be fired, and everyone is well aware of this, that everyone has to work because he has a threat from being ignored from the, being excluded from the service. The economic incentive, I explained earlier, it is to increase the efficiency. If many people are working, you think that there is definitely a difference between some are more workers, some are, you say, they are not as talented as compared to other. So they should be given the economic incentive. The Romans, once again for the Romans, because they were the civilized origin of merit system. So how the public administration developed from the Romans, they gave the merit. आज हम merit करोना रो रहे हैं. They implemented it in letter and spirit many hundred years back. Origin of civil service, to regulate pay. They were first argued to give a complete mechanism of this civil servants. For example, they divided it into different departments, and not, I can say, the scale, yet they decided the salary structure, that how one or the other will be getting. The core feature of modern public administration were first found in the Roman Empire. Very interesting to note that in modern life, what we are seeing, these values, these ideas, these facts were already present in the Roman administration. That's why they went on the rise of the nations, and they dominated all the worlds, all the nations at their specific time. What was dispersonalization? They were definitely against. They were only on the merit, that merit should be the last one. Separation of public and private fund. They differentiated, because when there is a mingling or mixture of two funds, or they are not clearly defined, that in which category it will be spent and in which the other will be spent, there is the more probability that there will be mismanagement. Hierarchy. They gave the hierarchy, for example, starting from here, they gave that this will be the boss, this will be to his subordinate, then other each will have 3 subordinate, and so on. These were the hierarchy. It means they gave a tree of administration starting from up to down, that how it will be functioning. And functional specialization, they elected the people, they selected the people that were expert, that were skillful in their and they were specialized. The virtue of military service as training in administration, and they asked that the military should provide the service, and they were the, you can say, as they were the public administrators. Doctrine and attitude effect. Now this is the last one of the significance of administration doctrine. I should have included many more, but as we have to cover many of the other topics, so I am restricting myself. The significance of doctrine and attitudes affect morale. This is very important, that we are still in Pakistan unable to recognize. The morale of the nation is directly influenced by the doctrine and attitude of the public administration. And the morale, not only the morale, but also the performance, and more importantly institution culture. जिस तरह की आपकी पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन होगी, उसी तरह का लोगों का मोरल होगा, उनकी परफॉर्मेंस के साथ उसका लिंक होगा, और उनका इंस्टीट्यूशनल जो कल्चर है वो जो है उसको देखते ही आप बता सकेंगे कि दैट व्हाट इज द सिचुएशन. फॉर एग्जांपल, इफ यू गो इनटू द प्राइवेट हॉस्पिटल, you will see everywhere well disciplined things, people heeding to you, they are listening to you, they are trying to help you out, they are going to treat you. But if you go into the public hospitals, the scenario becomes different. Even a person is dying, no one is going to take care of. First you will have to call a phone to some of the reference, then the doctors or the staff will come to know. So it means the culture and you know that efficiency is definitely low in the public sector. So if you want to gauge, to judge, to measure the efficiency of any of the nation, you should just visit its institution. If its institution are showing some disciplined, well-defined culture, you can say that this nation is on the rise. But on the other side, if you go in any of the public sector in Pakistan, you will see that, very sorry to say, not criticizing every time Pakistan, the purpose of this criticism is to make better the position of the Pakistan, to improve Pakistan. So in Pakistan, any of the public sector, there is some different story. Administrative culture affects the overall competence or incompetence of the institution. For example, if I am assistant professor at the Kamsat Institute of Information Technology, Islamabad, if I am given extraordinary work, or I am given some bore exercise every time keeping me busy, definitely it will have negative effect on my performance. But on the other side, if I am given some liberty, the work according to my choice and taste and interest, I will be more comfortable and my performance will increase. Being in public administration, you should be critically aware of this significance, that the people say that, wow, no doubt what is happening in the institution, it has no effect on the Pakistan. I am totally against it. Institutions are Pakistan. If institution will go to the hell, Pakistan can't survive for this, and we should recognize this fact as quickly as possible, from me sitting on this chair and from every person who is doing his duty. We should recognize that we are the part of the public administration, we are the part of the public policy, and we can improve the situation of Pakistan. If I say that what I am doing, it has no effect on the Pakistan, other are doing this or that, it is a negative and misleading and misperception. My contribution is my contribution. I am given the responsibility to contribute, so I should try my ever best to contribute to the society. More sophisticated doctrines are needed when meaningful and fulfilling work for its employees is the central goal of an institution. Institution का आप जो है वो उठा के देख लें, उसका पीसीओ उठा के इंस्टीट्यूशन का, you the expert can easily judge that what is the situation of the institution. In Pakistan, very good PCOs, but no implementation, very sorry to say, anywhere. But what is, we are talking about some standard, or you can say the ideal situation. The whole focus should be on the meaningful and fulfilling work for its employees. The employees should be facilitated rather than there should be problem creation for them in this way, you leg pulling or whatsoever in this. These doctrines are generally more conducive to long-term institutional effectiveness and productivity. The more this situation, these new doctrines, new theories, new ideas, these are more conducive to long-term institutional effective. इदारे इसी तरह बनते हैं. Look at our democracy. We are Islamic Republic of Pakistan, but unfortunately there is no true democracy, and we are fortunate that this was the first peaceful transition from the democratic government to the other democratic in the 66-year history of Pakistan. So how the institution can be built? There was much hammering on this institution, interfering from the 4 or 5 dictators. So that's why these are running. But as the institution try getting stronger, the position of the country becomes better. Now I have brought some 12 principles of administration. These will help you a lot. And what is this? This is the crux of discussion of the previous one or this one. And we after this we will start about some about the bureaucracy and some of the approaches to study the public administration. But these are very interesting. You should be on your fingertips. Not necessarily that these are only 12, but these were given by the Catherine Sackler Hudson's, and these are known as 12 principles of public administration. Policy. The first is the policy should be defined and imparted to those who are responsible for its achievement. सिर्फ उनके लिए पॉलिसी बनानी चाहिए, and the work should be given to those people only who are responsible for the achievement of the objective. If you hand over the policy or give the authorities who is not responsible to carry out the to attain or achieve the objective, you are not going to get the your required objective. The second is work should be subdivided, systematically planned and programmed. There should be a centralization also of the power, but the work one person should not be given each time. Like in our department, you can say there are English experts, there are management experts, there are public administrator expert. This is good thing. But if you say that only as happening in Pakistani primary schools, then one teacher is teaching each and every discipline subject to the student. Tasks and responsibilities should be specifically designed and understood. The criteria of each person's the activity should be clearly defined. उसने क्या करना है, उसने क्या करना है, ये मुकम्मल तौर पर जो है ये सामने जो है वो आना चाहिए. If it is not before, then definitely it will not be a good public administration. Appropriate methods and procedures should be developed and utilized by those responsible for policy achievement. Now they should be given some liberty. They should be asked to choose method, because there are many methods to achieve the same objective. For example, if you have to reach to Faizabad, in Rawalpindi, Islamabad, you can go in either way, by taxi, by car, by motorcycle. This is up to your desire. But the objective should be at the same, that you should reach there at the time. So what method the public administrator choose, you need not to worry about this. Appropriate resources in terms of availability and priority should be equitably allocated. If there is deficiency of resources, the administration is not going to work properly. And there should be a continuous flow of resources over time, so that all the commitments are being fulfilled. बहुत से project you can see everywhere in Pakistan that the work has been stopped over there, because the new government has changed its priorities and there is no release of the funds in many of the. I can say with surety that each person in his district, he can find such kind of things. Authority commensurate with responsibility should be delegated and located as close as possible to the point where operations occur. Decision made this is more important. Authority commensurate with the responsibility should be delegated. हमारे यहाँ क्या होता है कि responsibility दे दी जाती है, authority नहीं दी जाती. You will see in public institution many people will be complaining about this, that यार वो ये काम नहीं कर, their hands are closed हैं. So if you give a person the responsibility, you should give him the authority. The seventh one is adequate structure relationship through which to operate should be established. What this means, that there should be structural relationship. Many departments are in each of the institution, and if they are working not in accordance with one another, then it may create problem. The more co-integration, what is happening nowadays, you will see that कि हमारी जो intelligence agencies हैं, they are not working in accordance with each other. किसी का मुंह इस तरफ लगा हुआ है, किसी का इस तरफ. That is not working. That's why there are always intelligence failure, and then after that we criticize and make many cry that this happened or that. Effective and qualified leadership should head each institution and all subdivision. आपके सामने situation है. Now at this time 21 public institutions are without head. For example, the NEPRA, the OGRA, these are, then what will be the effectiveness of the institution? The deputies, or you can say the in charge, are working and they are not doing, and nowadays Pakistan Cricket Board is also going through this. Najam Sethi is only not the permanent, he is only the caretaker head of this institute, that is the PCB, Pakistan Cricket Board. So now many criticism there, that how to select the team, the contract of many of the employees are over, they are not getting renewed. So many problem there. All the heads should be efficient guys, and they should be given the unity of command. ये भी एक बड़ा अजाब है पाकिस्तानी institution में, and purpose should permit the institute. Unity command is very necessary. If you are responsible before more than 2 persons, you will have to be political person. If you are only responsible before 1 person, you can do your work in a proper way, because you know that you get the direction from that commander, and you do this. For example, if a person a major has to be responsible to 2 brigadiers, 2 bosses are there. One will be saying that you should not launch the operation, the other will be saying why you did not launch the operation. Similarly, and happening in Pakistan, in all the institutions, people are stuck between this. One boss is saying this one, the other is saying. It is one interesting thing that it is also happening in the research also. When there are co-supervisor and supervisor, sometimes there are very interesting contradictory remarks between the supervisor and the co-supervisor. For example, if your supervisor says that you should go on this line, the possibility the co-supervisor says no, this is not the right way, because there is no coordination between the co-supervisor and the supervisor. So now you are hanging between the two persons. Now what you will be doing? So the unity of command is the prerequisite of a good public administration. Continuous accountability for utilization of resources and the production of results should be required. If there is no accountability, I can assure you every person by nature will go, with only rare exception, every person will be going against by human nature, he will be going wrongly. So what the policy should be on different stages, on different steps, there should be accountability, so that if a person knows that he is accountable for this or that, definitely he will be going in that way. Audit should be there. Itna project mukammal ho gaya, look at this, how this money was spent on the proper things or not. Effective coordination of all individual and groups effort. The united we stand, the united we stand, the divided we fall. If all the activities are complementing each other, then it is very effective. Otherwise it will not. So the coordination of the institution is highly argued in the Catherine Sackler's Hudson's 12 principle. And the last but not the least principle for this is that the continuous reconsideration of all matters pertaining to the institution should be a part of regular operation. The managers, the administrator should have keen and critical eye on all the functioning of the institution. If they think that if there is any problem or if there is any disturbance in any part of the institution, they should immediately look at this. The large organization, one of the large organization or the institution problem is that when the problem reaches the person who is responsible for this, there is too late for this. So there should be the continuous reconsideration. ये नहीं है कि एक दफा जो चीज बन जाए आप उस पे ये कह लें कि ये अब तब्दील नहीं हो सकती. Continuous rethinking, reconsidering the things that were deemed to be changed after 10 years. Now there is the possibility of that after 10 days due to this knowledge flood and the use of information technology. We will start our discussion on the bureaucracy. Now it is time to give you a brief summary of the today lecture. Very interesting lecture for today. What was this? We started the origin of the public administration. Very necessary topic for this, because whenever you know, you should have know the logic, the principle, the theories, the criticism, the evolution of the discipline. We started generally in the first, and we said that the military leader were the first public administrator. No doubt it is correct, because in the beginning there was no, you can say, the ruler without power. The only powerful was the ruler, and that was the military person at that time. After time, then there was changing in the disciplines of the public administration, and we saw many of the theories. We saw 4 or 5 big guns like Stein, Gulick and Woodrow Wilson, that contributed extraordinarily to the discipline of the public administration. The others, many others, are also in the part of this contribution, and there was the development of some of the theories. For example, there was the new public management, then there was new public service, then there was reinventing the government, new policy of governance. These were all the development of the public administration. When there was criticism, then there was constructivism also, and it went on this, and ultimately the discipline came into the most defined form. We bifurcated our discussion into the after World War II, between 17 and 80s, between 80s and 19, and so on. You should only remember that who are the big contributor to this public administrator, and at the end we just concluded Catherine's 12 points for a public administration. It should be categorically remembered that the public administration is the true picture of any of the country, and it is the prerequisite of the economic development or the welfare, well-being of any of the country. So what were these points? We studied these points. They were 12 points. I think you will remember this. These are not the least point, that these are only 12. Many can be incorporated by current literature, and you will see that the public administration is the most critical and have extraordinary importance in the present era. So thank you very much. See you in the next lecture. Till that, take care, and Allah Hafiz.